Good morning, and thank you for joining me today for Speaking of Gas. And this is a weekly look at what matters to you, the owners of oil and gas rights. And it's brought to you by the GasWellGuru, always advocating and educating the landowner. Um, Today, I'm kind of excited about talking about some new technology I discovered, new to me. I think probably somewhat new to the Appalachian Basin. It could be happening in other areas, and I just haven't encountered it yet. But it is some exciting new technology. It's as far as I can see from the little bit of research I could do in the short time I had, that it has been used in some other places in the Permian Basin in particular. I'm not aware of it being used at this point anywhere else in the gas shales, but in the Permian Basin and the oil, it has been. And it's referred to as horseshoe drilling. And, new technology is a step towards increased production, safer practices, being able to adhere to regulations. This industry is constantly developing new technology. And Gimmick is a prime example of there were issues in the beginning with some well casing, and they have increased regulations. Companies have improved technology and hopefully overcome them and now able to drill in that area again. A lot of technology is about getting more gas out of the ground, getting it out more efficiently at a lower cost per MCF. And it just never ceases to amaze me how much how much their scientists are able to accomplish. So, when we're trying to get over a hump on any challenges we have in this country and around the world, I always look at it as there'll be some smart person out there that can figure it out, figure a way around it. So let's jump into what this new technology looks like. And first of all, I'll just throw up this graphic that I found online. Let me share this. I think I labeled things so it would be a little more seamless this time. And we'll see if I was successful. Okay, there it is. This graphic was in relation to a company, this Millard, that they're not active here in the Appalachian Basin. They had this on their in their reports, talking about their potential savings for drilling this type of well. And so I thought this graphic was interesting. They're showing that you could have, well, they show 3 or 4 rigs there, but that I guess it would be 4 rigs up, but on one pad, and drilling 4 separate laterals. And with this new horseshoe technology, they go down and make a loop. And so this is just to give you an idea here, with a simple graphic, what we're looking at. Now, where this popped up for me was I always look at the e-submission, see what the latest information out there is on new permits, well records, and completion reports being filed. And I found this. So I didn't come across the area of review summary first. I first came across the well record. But let's look at the area of review summary first. We've talked about these in prior calls. They're kind of a preliminary step in getting an oil and gas or a gas permit to drill a well. And so this is that area of review summary where the company needs to demonstrate what wells they're proposing, and those are in green. They need to show a 1,000-foot buffer around those wells, and then also show all the drilled and competitor wells all the drilled wells that are within that area. And in this case, they're showing competitor wells and drilled wells with two different designations in the legend here. So as you look at this, the green are the proposed wells, and there's only one horseshoe in there. This is Coterra, used to be Cabot, now Coterra with a merger. And you can see they've got, this is the pad area here. They have a lateral out to the west that comes down. It takes some turns, twists and turns. Can't really tell you the why there, but they have amazing technology to get to what they would consider the sweet spots to get through there. There are other drilled wells here that they need to avoid, and that may very well have to do with how they are curving around to go in between those previous wells, because they are all, I believe, Marcellus. We're not talking about separate levels here. So this is the well that we're talking about, and that's so interesting. So here's where the well starts. The top hole comes around, goes into the formation, and then it goes all the way around, makes a loop, and comes back with a bottom hole here. And so that's that horseshoe formation we saw in that previous graphic. And so I had a lot of questions about this, and some of them were answered in an article that I found online. Let me show you that. And this was back in 2020, and Shell drilled a well in the Permian Basin. That was, I guess, when they first dubbed it a horseshoe well. And this article, let's see, JPT, directional and complex wells, the article, that was the topic here. Why Shell drilled a horseshoe well in the Permian Basin. So in this particular case, and I'll go down to their graphic. So this is a kind of a 3D graphic of the vertical wellbore, and it goes down just like you typically see, where they actually go in the opposite direction. They make the curve, land in the formation, and normally your lateral would end out here. And here's where they make that horseshoe turn, and they're staying in that formation in the Permian Basin. And then below it here, it's a 3D view of the Neely well in Loving County, Texas. And the reason that they said they needed to do this was that they had some issues with getting a successful vertical drilled on these wells. So they decided to try extending that. Instead of having to move over and drill this lateral separately and ending it as they normally would, they could drill both off from the same vertical. And so they took a stab at it, got dubbed the horseshoe well, and yeah. So that's an interesting article. If you just Google horseshoe well, Shell, you'll probably be able to find that information and read that for yourself. Okay. So then, looking for information on the Millard well, I'll go through the process that they use to actually permit that. And the permit was actually applied for, of course, last year. And it was typical, let's see, location plat showing the top hole and the horizontal that bottomed out at the end, just a straight lateral. And then, and there's your side view, nothing spectacular about that. it was to be a, let's see, and I didn't actually look at the length of that lateral. Let's see, 800. It wasn't, it was, I think it was about a 5,000 foot lateral. And then the next thing that they filed was an amendment to that. And so they had to, you can't just deviate from a well permit in Pennsylvania, probably in most places. You just can't deviate from that without applying for a new permit. And I'm looking for, maybe not quite so important there, but they did apply for a deviation and filed a new permit. And that one looks like this. So this is the new one. And again, you know, if we look at these location plats, there are several pages. The first page always delineates the water sources within typically 3,000 feet of the well bore. And so these lines are abbreviated here. But as we get to the full location plat, now you can see the top hole, they're coming down, drilling the lateral, and then coming around the curve and to the bottom hole. Now, what I did get from the Shell article, because the first thing in my mind was, are they going to frack on that curve? Are they going to frack the area in here? And I think from the Shell article, the answer, at least for that one, was no, and probably is going to be. I know when they complete the curves in drilling the vertical and they start the turn and the curve to go into the formation, they don't start the frack until they get to this landing point, which is right here. It's circled. So this is where they enter the formation and they frack. Now, I got to admit, I didn't look up the abbreviation for this NHP 1, 2, and 3. But I'm guessing there may be some indication there about where they're going to be in the formation and begin the frack again. That's something I need to learn as I go forward. Now, with the location plat, they also filed this. So before I really figured out what they were doing, it was, you know, a bit of a shock when I saw it. But the side view shows them going down, and actually this is where they're doubling back. And as you can see, that is about a 6,000 foot lateral. Now, it's probably going to take some of that off when you don't frack in the curve, but then this shows from an aerial view of what they did, how they go around the turn and end up at the bottom hole. And then they also filed what is sort of a 3D picture of what they're doing. And this is in the actual location plat, not the completion report. Okay. I really thought this was going to be kind of short today with one topic, but it's sort of looking like by the time I go all through these, I'll probably fill the time. So then the next thing is the well record. And that's what I actually came upon yesterday in looking through the area of review submissions, the e-submissions. And okay, the well record. Okay, this is the well record that I came across. So this well has been drilled. I did not find a completion report to show that had been fracked yet, but I will get some dates out of this. I think we're not at that point yet. And this well record for the actual drilling was filed on the 29th of this year, 29th of January. So as we go down through this, pick out some things. This is the log of formations. Looks a little different than some that we've seen filed, but they are all there, just in a table format instead of the usual list that we see. And you can see that they are all in where they're completing from the total vertical depth to the bottom hole, that they're all in the Marcellus formation. Okay, so now this is what they filed with the completion report. A little more information. This has some added information from that location plat with what they proposed. But this is the as drilled details, what they actually did. And then this goes into the directional drilling survey report that follows the trajectory of the well path. And it actually has the coordinates all along that trajectory. And I'm going to guess this is probably a few more pages than some. The total was 19,000 feet, and I think that was more. That was the total measured depth of both laterals and the vertical, I believe. So I could have stated some things incorrectly here. If I did, forgive me. Can't hold me to it. Because I did look this up, information on this rather quickly. So I guess just talking about this a moment more, why they did that in this particular pad, trying this new technology here, seeing if it works. Most likely they're not going to frack in this area. As the person who owns the oil and gas rights, a concern will be how that all factors into the unitization. That is a pretty fully developed pad, or will be, with these proposed wells. I am not entirely sure. Well, let me go back to that. I'm not sure how many of these have been completed at this point. Let's see, let me get back to what I wanted to share. How many of those actual wells have been completed at this point? But as you look at this, this doesn't show unit boundaries, but you're looking at some pretty full development here. These wells in dark black are Coterra's wells. So these people would be a part of existing units. You can see, interestingly, you've got well bores that actually, they end about where this lateral is drilled. And they could end a bit back from that. Typically, they're not, a lot of times they may not be fracking right to the end of that. They do not frack in the toe of these wells. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes together. I think that it looks like in this area, if they're successful in this, we're not going to see much stranded gas. And hopefully these areas that aren't fracked don't tie up land that doesn't see development. But I don't see that. in these particular drawings that that's probably going to happen. There is a well bore that goes right down the middle of that horseshoe frac, or that horseshoe well bore. So I think with that, I'm going to stop talking about that for a bit, see if we have any questions in here. I didn't see any light up. We do have a raised hand. So let's see. We do have a question. And is it typed in the Q&A? Okay. I don't know. I wonder if you were able to successfully type a question in there. I think you might have to ask me the question outside the meeting. And I certainly will be happy to address that and maybe come back to it in the group next week. But it's certainly, it was astounding to me when I saw that. I was excited, and then all of a sudden wanting to search for more information. I hope that you found this interesting, and I'll be watching to see where this goes for sure. So before I end the call today, I want to put one more thing up. I'm always plugging our organization, the Pennsylvania Oil and Gas Landowner Alliance, and we have a save the date out there. We will be holding our 2024 annual meeting and conference in State College at the Penn Stater, April 28th through 30th. And I'll just kind of quickly tell you what our format has been in the past, and I think we're going to follow that very closely. That we would hold a board meeting on the 28th, which is a Sunday, and we always, our members are welcome to attend that. And then we'll have an evening meal and a roundtable discussion, and we hope to have a speaker for that event. And then on Monday and Tuesday, both days, we will have an annual meeting, a short annual meeting, Monday morning. And then it'll be followed by 2 full days of speakers. And a lot of times have in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 speakers. And we will have sponsors and vendors there in the form of companies, banks, mineral buyers are usually eager to join us and be there to talk to all the participants. So mark that on your calendar. If you're not a POGLA member yet, you might want to consider that. And no one ever walks away from that meeting saying it was a waste of their time. Everyone always appreciates the information, and sometimes, just as important, the networking opportunities for the people who attend that own oil and gas rights. So with that, thank you for joining me today. This same link will work every Thursday morning at 9. And you can catch all the broadcast on YouTube on my channel. So goodbye for this week, and see you next.